What are we doing today? We are here at Tiki Tuesday. We are doing a tiki drink, but stop. Hang on. Hang on. How about a tiki drink that predates tiki that has brandy in it? We do not come across a ton of brandy cocktails in tiki. This drink comes from much, much, much earlier than tiki ever was. The first time we ever even hear about this cocktail, it comes up in like the late 1800s. So this is kind of one of those weird ones that got adapted and adopted into tiki without ever having crossed a bamboo bar. This thing comes from the same adventurous spirit that a lot of us have when we think of tiki, about grabbing a boat and just going. That's kind of what this thing's all about. This cocktail is called the East India Cocktail. And the East India Cocktail came from, in my opinion, one of the greatest bartender names of all time. There have been some really good ones. There's, of course, the Only William. That's a great name for a bartender. I personally think that Don the Beachcomber is a pretty cool name for a bartender. Trader Vic. I mean, listen, he and I have had our problems before. It's still a name, still a great name. This one doesn't come from any of those guys. No, this one comes from perhaps the greatest bartender name of all time, Harry Johnson. Is the first person to ever write about this cocktail. And honestly, great. Good for Harry Johnson. Maybe it wasn't even created by this guy. It was just first written about by a man with the name of Johnson. Harry Johnson. He had the opportunity to go by Harold. He had the opportunity to go by H. He had the opportunity to change a lot of, I don't know what his middle name is. He went with Harry Johnson, and we are here for it. Now, this is how I have always made this cocktail. There is a different way to make this cocktail, and we will be making that version of it on Thursday. Kyle, can you check my books real quick, see if I'm free Thursday? If we're free Thursday, we're going to be making a different version of this with, it's a bit more intense is all it is. So I, over the many years of working in bars, have had to find ways to adapt this cocktail. I love the idea, but I've had to find ways to adapt this cocktail. So we are going to be making my version today of the East India Cocktail by a man named Johnson, Harry Johnson. I think that's good. Do we nail it? I think we nailed it. My name's stupid compared to that. I want a name like Harry Wiener. Harry anything. Okay, let's get into it. We're gonna start over here by grabbing some of this. This is our friend Curacao. You can use some thicker, sweeter Curacao if you want. This, after all, is a Harry Johnson cocktail. Or you can use this stuff. This is dry Curacao. I love this stuff. I know it's a little bit more expensive. When this bottle runs out, am I going to run right out and buy another bottle of dry Curacao? Maybe. Maybe I will. I can probably get away without it. This stuff is just always pretty consistent. Works in most cocktails. Rip it in your hand like Harry Johnson. And pour in 3/4 of an ounce of some Curacao. I think I read about this cocktail for the first time ever in the Playboy Bartender's Guide. I'm pretty sure that's the first place I ever read about it. And in that, I don't think they talked about pineapple syrup. I'm sure there was pineapple juice. There was pineapple in there somewhere. I got it in my head, listen, this drink will be just fine with pineapple juice. And since then, that is how I've been making my East India cocktail. This right here, pineapple juice. Grab yourself some pineapple juice. We're going to be putting in 3/4 of an ounce of some pineapple juice. These are all bottles of mostly used maraschino liqueur. I don't need that much. I just need 1/4 of an ounce. So let's see if we can get to 1/4 of an ounce, 1/4 of an ounce of maraschino liqueur. This drink will, of course, be slightly better if you find a very, very nice cognac. It will also be a lot more expensive. I believe that you can get E&J VS for just like a wink in a lot of places. You just go and you go. And they'll say, oh, you're here for the E&J? Bloop. pop it out. Is it worth it? That's up to you. Is it worth it to have the most expensive liquor in your cocktail? That is up to you. Grab yourself some brandy. I don't care what kind. Put in 2 ounces of a brandy. How did I spill so much? You know what? Good thing I wasn't using the Henny. That stuff is expensive. Lots of ice. Now, there is pineapple juice in this version, so we are going to give it just a little shake. We want a little easy peasy shake. There are some bitters left to be put in this. We're going to be putting those on the top. All right, so give this a big shake. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Here we go. This cool thing. Pour it right on top. Couple ways you can do this. I have always found that the Jamaican bitters works really well on this one. You can also use Angostura. If you're looking for something tropical on top of this, Angostura is about as tropical as it gets. It comes from Trinidad and Tobago. Super tropical area. Anyway, I like the Jamaican bitters. And we're going to be putting in 3 dashes of Jamaican bitters right there on top. I don't want the whole drink to taste of Jamaican bitters. I really want all of that smell right there on top. And hope I can get a little bit of flame out of this. Oh yeah, this is the oily. You can tell how flamey your orange is going to be when you start cutting. If you feel the oil start to like spread out, if it starts to smell the moment you start to peel, the moment you start to cut, that's a good indication that you have a pretty flame forward orange. Because remember, what you're flaming are the oils. How I light things. There with, grab this guy, give it a real quick rub right there, get it real close, almost putting it out, and then a squeeze. Right there is Dr. Kush's exotic version of the East India cocktail. It is juice forward, no doubt about it. The brandy is not the huge main star in this, so you can find a less expensive brandy to work with. Created by Harry Johnson, named after the East India Trading Company, who were not the greatest people. They were basically pirates with a couple extra steps. But still, very nice cocktail. This is my version of it. Let's see how I did. That is delicious. Love it. More, please. I have more. I'm going to drink the rest of this.